If you feel like your child is not buying into the program, what's the best way to handle that? Let it go, say something.
Good question. Well, in this, believe it or not, this kind of relates to the previous question. Cornerstone is, for the kids, tremendously fun at some points. At other points, it is tremendously ugly. It is not easy when you're used to pulling the strings, you're used to hiding behind illusions and facades. When the kids come into Cornerstone, they realize at some point that these other kids understand me. There's no facade here. They see right through me, and that can be a really wickedly uncomfortable time. And even beyond that time, there are things that are just unpleasant to deal with, but need to be dealt with. And so, our experience was the level of buying in came and went. There were times where, our daughter was leading the charge and dragging us along, and there were times where it was the other way around. And so for me, I think the best approach to that is to commit yourself to the program and be consistent and let your child wax and wane. But the shots are really, one of your shots should be working a program to my satisfaction, to the counselor's satisfaction. And if you have that shot, it's real simple. If they're not living up to their end of the agreement, you take the action that should be posted up on your refrigerator, and it keeps it really simple. And that consistency is kind of what anchors them. For our daughter, when she tried to bail out of the program, we just didn't have that. We just didn't give her that option. It was, okay, I'm sorry you feel that way. But our consequence for not working a program was you can't live in the house. And so it's your choice. And she decided to work a program. And so that consistency really, I think that moment really changed our relationship. Yeah.
Cool. Buying in. What if your child is not buying in? What do you do if your child isn't buying in?
So at the beginning of the program, Patrick was excited about being in it, and then it wore off, like David said. And what do? You've got like this big teenager lying in his bed telling you to F off, and I'm not going and I'm not doing it. And so we had our shots, and we decided, and I'm just going to give you an example, we just decided to have other teens. Joe sent some teens over to pick him up and get him out of the house, get him to a meeting. The weird thing is like the child gives you attitude, but when he's around his buddies, the other teens, like magic happens. It's like, I don't know what that is. It's a miracle. Attitude goes out the window. They can see through him. They also know the demons he's fighting. So they get him out of the house, get him to a meeting, and part of our shots was, or as you'll learn in the program, you may also need a higher level of care. Does he need help? Does he need to go to a psych hospital? What does he need? And the counselors are pretty good with helping you with that. And for our son, he needed to be out of the house. My husband and I and his sisters were huge enablers, and he needed to be out of the house. So we sent him to a host family, and things started to move along. So you just use your shots, you hold your boundaries, and you talk to your sponsor, which is what I did, and my circle, my mom squad. And my husband had the same thing, same support system. So we were all able to make those really hard decisions and be on the same page to help them. So I would say it's you always up it. You don't allow, I mean, he's gonna do or she's gonna do whatever they wanna do, but you have a response, not a reaction. You're like, well, this is what's gonna happen. You're not gonna work your program, you're out of the house, you're in the garage, or whatever it is. There's something that you can do. There's always a solution.
Cool. Anything that add to that as far as your own personal experience with being bought in?
Yeah, one thing I am grateful for my experience is kind of the hands-offness. You know, they kind of gave me my space. My parents gave me my space whenever I was, like getting sober. And I feel like if they were like constantly asking me like, oh, how's your day? What'd you do today? You know, blah, blah, blah. Like, it would be really overwhelming to me, and it was already difficult enough, like, interpreting, like, how I felt and articulating how I felt, you know? So I think, when it comes to the question, it's like, do I need to say anything? It's just like, honestly, no, releasing that control and allowing, the group and the community to kind of work its magic is extraordinarily difficult, and it kind of comes from that belief. It's like, well, I know they can do a good job, but I can do it better, which is like insanity. You know what I mean? If you could do it better, then like your child probably wouldn't be in Cornerstone right now. You know what I mean? Sorry. Like, I don't know what to tell you, and it's, letting go of that control and just like trusting, that's honestly, I don't know, it affected my recovery a lot, but yeah.
Cool. So I really like this phrase, buying in. When I'm bought into something, that means that I've got some understanding, some belief of whatever it is that I'm doing. And this kind of piggybacks off of what I was saying earlier about my philosophy of like, if I get the parents, I'm gonna get the kid. If I've got the parents and you guys are believing a little bit, you're on board, we're on the same page, we're developing a partnership, we're a united front with your kid, we're greatly reducing the chances of any of their manipulation or triangulation being effective on us, which they're gonna try. That's like their job. Their job is to do those things, is to try to manipulate, triangulate, all of those kinds of things. When it comes to the parents being bought in, you being bought in, and that actually being reflected in your actions, gives your kids a lot of confidence. That stuff is kind of contagious. When they see you guys going to meetings or attending climbers, or they see you off in a corner at coffee meeting with your sponsor or having one-on-one like that, they're always watching, they're paying attention to that kind of stuff, and that stuff registers with them. And if they see the bought in from y'all, it's easier for them to get on board and get bought in. Also, if you guys are bought in, then when your kid hits that wall, and I say when, not if, because I don't think there's ever been a kid I've ever worked with that hasn't hit that wall. It's like a normal part of recovery and like the healing journey, because the work isn't easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. But when your kid hits that wall, if you guys have been consistent in your message, in your tone, with your shots, and you just stay on message and you stay consistent, then that explosion or potential explosion will probably just be a puff of smoke. And it'll probably fizzle out and go away pretty quickly, because your kid will know that it's not going to work. And there might be moronic sometimes, but they're not stupid. They're not going to try something that they know isn't going to work. And so all of the work and prep that you guys have put in before we hit that wall really kind of determines what it looks like beyond that, which is exactly what these parents up here are talking about. Like, I remember when we hit that crossroads moment with David's daughter, and that's exactly how they put it to her. Like, okay, well, give us your keys, give us our phone, keys to our car, give me a big hug, I love you, let me know when something changes. And her reaction or response to that was pretty much like, and she pretty quickly after that got into action and laid her kind of smokescreen issues aside that she was trying to stir up, and ended up like doing really well in her recovery. And a big part of that reason was because of the parents and them being steadfast and consistent. Like, nope, we made a commitment. We're not changing our mind. Our level of commitment hasn't changed. And if your mind has changed, then okay, that's like cool and not cool for obvious reasons. And like, you got to go or get in the garage or doors coming off the hinges or whatever the consequence is for the behavior.